This is Deborah Johnson for Women at Halftime, and I'm passionate about helping women use their untapped skills, resources, and talents to create their ideal work and lifestyle, making a difference in their second half. Well, hello, this is Deborah Johnson, and I have Greg with me today.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. And with a subject, what economic cycles do to entrepreneurs. And I'm really excited to hear, especially a lot from Greg today on this subject. It's a really good one, especially with really the state of our world and our country. Before I totally get started here, I want to remind you that the Learn Music Again, make sure you check it out, learnmusicagain.com. Our cart is still open for that, but I've got fun free downloads for you there, free MP3, a free small mini course, and there are some 5-day challenges as well as far as in getting back into your music, and I have some others going on as well. So check out my Facebook page at Deborah.Johnson. Actually, it's a period Johnson, Deborah Johnson with a period in between there. So you can find a lot of those on that page. And of course, there's always songs, Easter songs coming up as well at this time of year. And so make sure you check all of those out on DJ Works Music as well. So, okay, so let's dive into this subject. And I think we've got 7 main points we're going to cover here. So on this, what economic cycles do to entrepreneurs. First of all, Greg, explain a little bit what an economic cycle is, kind of an overall definition of it.
Okay. Well, Deb and I, in our businesses, have lived, through at least 3 recent economic cycles: the downturn in 2001, the downturn in 2009, and again the downturn we faced last year. And what generally happens is that economic expansion goes on as production increases and new jobs are created, and the job market shifts. Usually some people leave some jobs and join other jobs, and then we always have younger workers coming into the workplace, and they generally flock to the places where new jobs are being created. And the market expands, and making money is relatively easy during expansions because people have money to spend. Generally, credit is easy to access in case you need to grow, and everything's good. And until we've expanded too much, and we have too much product, too much supply, too many services, and suddenly less demand. And it's a little bit like a game of musical chairs. The music stops, and one or more of us end up scrambling for a chair. And at that point, the economy begins to contract. Credit becomes harder to get. Right when you need it in order to keep your business going, credit becomes harder to get. Because of that, we generally have to let go of employees, and so unemployment goes up. And for whatever reason, government tends to raise taxes right about then, meaning we get to keep less of what we make.
Yeah.
So, and then after that lasts for a little while, generally about a year, we kind of peek our heads out from under a rock and realize we've made it. And even though we're making less, we start planning to grow again. And so that's what economic cycles are. Generally, they start with a reduction and then an expansion. And generally they cause us to cut or reduce our business output and in order just to stay afloat. And then once we've weathered that, we begin to expand, and we're going to talk, I think, next about that expansion should involve following a new plan.
Good. And you can tell as you are listening why I had Greg on for this subject. And
Yeah, but you and I have lived through this
Yes,
and talked
we have.
through, this a lot.
Yes,
So.
yeah, we definitely have. And, he's been an RIA as well. You've been into this field quite a bit.
Yeah, to remind everybody, I was a registered investment advisor running my own business.
Yeah.
And so in the investment advisement business, when the stock market crashes, that's tantamount to a recession.
Yeah.
And it happened in 2001, 2009, and then last year. So
Yeah.
it impacted Debbie's business just as much.
Yeah.
So, after we go through economic cycles, what Debbie and I have both experienced is that second, you got to let go of non-producers.
Right.
And
right.
By that, we mean both staff and products.
Yes.
And one of the things you find is that, when you suddenly realize you can't afford anybody, the evaluations on your pencil just gets sharper, and you go, okay, who can I do without?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's one of the hardest things about reductions is the personal involvement. I always tell Deb, it's way easier to hire somebody than it is to fire somebody.
Oh, and you are so right. Very difficult. Yeah.
It's just painful.
Yeah.
And but the same thing that's true of staff is sometimes true of our beloved products or services. We came up with a great idea and we thought this thing was going to work, but in a recession, products that really aren't part of your core business function or model probably are going to cost you money to keep producing.
Right.
And in a time where you're cutting back, you can't afford to keep producing stuff that nobody wants.
Yeah.
You can't promote it. Generally speaking, some of those products, the profit margin either shrinks or it ends up costing you money to produce it.
Yes.
And you can easily see if you had a service that required people behind it, that can really cost you a lot of money.
Right.
So,
and I think this is a really good message to artists too, because I'm an artist, and you know how much I love to produce. Oh my goodness, just I got a lot of product, and I have to hold back because I'm thinking, okay, really, what is my market? This is so clever. Oh, this is such a good idea. And during this time, I'm really thinking not just once, twice, 10 times through everything that I'm doing, thinking, okay, is there really a market for this? Is this really going to help people? Is it going to accomplish my goal of my purpose, my ultimate purpose?
Yeah.
And that's the most important, purpose-driven right now. So
yeah, and sometimes entrepreneurs, instead of coming up with a new product or a new service, should focus their creative energies on how to market in new ways.
Yes.
Stuff they've already got.
Right.
And if you can trick yourself into believing that that's a valuable use of creative energy, you'll do yourself a huge favor.
In fact, I just implemented, as we are recording this, I've been in the process of implementing some new challenges because I felt like this would help my target audience really be able to jumpstart, because a lot of times people have a hard time just getting started.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out, I have so much product, how to be able to use that product more effectively in helping people accomplish their goals.
Yeah,
so,
and that was a good use of your creative energies.
Yeah.
And you identified that for a lot of people, when you're stuck, initial inertia is always hard.
Yes.
And you may have been moving along, but for whatever reason, 2020 just planted your feet in thick mud.
Yep.
And you're finding it difficult to get rolling again. So, helping people get unstuck is a perfect direction for your energies.
Definitely. And that really helps as we move along. And, we've talked about first is that we reduce and expand, so in those times. And the second of let go of non-producers or, of staff and products even. And number three is kind of reimagine the future and reconfirm your value statement. That's what we were just talking about, a little bit of the value statement.
Yeah, one of the things that's hard is once you've reduced and you've weathered the storm, it's easy to think that you're just going to continue business the way you were before the storm. And that's a mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs make. Here's what I suggest you do. You've weathered the storm. You've made cuts. You're now a lean, mean fighting machine. You can survive anything. What you need to do is recognize that in economic downturns, generally there's a reshuffling of the deck. And the future is going to look slightly or maybe dramatically different than the past has. And so you need to, as things start to get back to normal, do two things. One, reimagine the future. Okay? Try to, you did this once when you were first starting. So pretend that you're just first starting again and ask yourself, what does the economy need that I can provide? Okay? Then, once you figure out what you can provide, then rephrase your value statement. And your value statement is the answer to the question, not what do I provide, but what value do I provide? So, you might provide a dining out opportunity. But, it needs to be different coming out of 2020. It's got to be a dining experience that, allows people to escape. Maybe that's your value experience.
Right.
I mean, your value statement. But your product is a dining opportunity.
Right.
Your value statement is you're providing an experience.
Yes.
And more than likely, coming out of 2020, your value statement probably, at least in your mind, maybe not on paper, but in your mind, needs to be altered slightly.
Yes. And I think we've talked about this before, and it really is a great time when you're thinking, I can't, I'm having a hard time getting going again. But what happens with a time like we've had in 2020 is the playing field is leveled now.
Yeah.
To where, you really have a chance to, you might not have, been as well known or, all of that before that time. But now, you've increased in so many different areas. You've created a niche and your specific area, and you have a chance. You have a chance of cutting through with that value statement and with that, creating an experience is really what so many are craving right now. They're craving for that experience because they've been by themselves.
Yeah, as you start to think about the things getting back to normal and activity increasing, just traffic, purchases, activity being re-energized. Ask yourself the question, what opportunities will the next expansion offer? We're not going to go back to the next downturn. We're going to go to the next expansion. What opportunities is the next expansion going to offer? And then ask yourself a couple more questions. Is what I used to sell still in demand?
Okay.
And is it in demand in the same form as I had it 2 years ago?
Yes.
And then ask, is your delivery system of whatever that product or service was still viable?
Yeah.
Or has things changed and you need to deliver it in a different way. For instance, I don't know that Zoom sales calls are going to be it, but using Zoom as a delivery system.
Yes.
And maybe initial sales calls, follow-up sales calls aren't going to be done, but there may be some touching of base that your customers would prefer done through Zoom, just to save time and so they can multitask while you're doing. I don't know, but rethink your delivery system. Restaurants have suddenly become really good at takeout.
Right.
Before it was very difficult to get takeout. Now everybody's doing it. So that's a delivery system. But people are going to want to be able to get together. So if you think that takeout is going to be the only thing that a restaurant can provide, you're probably wrong.
Yes.
But think about those two questions. What did I used to sell, and does it still have a demand? And is my way of delivering it still valuable? So those will be important.
Very, very important. So, and this gives us a good ramp into the next little section of updating technology and what it has done to so many entrepreneurs. It's forced many into technology. When I've heard from so many, I just can't do tech. Well, all of a sudden they're doing a lot more tech than they ever imagined. They have to. They've had to survive.
Yeah, and what I'd recommend is don't be in a hurry to rehire humans. Do as much as you can with updated technology.
Right.
Your dollars will go a lot farther, and you've already gone through the pain of letting people go.
Right.
Just don't be in a hurry to get back to that. Now is a great time to expand technology so that you can keep your fixed operating costs low.
Yes.
Every time you add a human, your fixed opportunity costs go up a lot.
Right.
And
I also talk about being subscription poor. So you have to be careful because almost everything now that you sign up for is it's a subscription. It's a SaaS sort of as subscription service. So we just have to be. There's a lot of free.
So now's a good time to make sure you're only getting the subscriptions that are absolutely valuable.
Absolutely valuable. I went through a lot of mine and absolutely valuable, and I've continued to cut just a little bit. And some of those, on the free account, you can do all you need. So just to be able to evaluate those, and there are so many, of course, and we've talked about some of those. The technology, from our email system. I use Aweber. There's a lot of others with CRMs like a HubSpot or Fiverr, TopTal, all of those sort of places that we can find, if we need to hire an expert on things. TopTal is more for the experts. So,
one other thing on technology is you have reimagined your future to reach your customers. Recognize that you're the customer of all your vendors. And now is a good time to find out what technologies they're using and see if you can learn from them. And it's also a good time to force them to adapt to you so they can serve you best and help optimize your expansion. So don't forget to put your brain on and view yourself as the way the vendor should view you. And begin making new partnerships, or at least changing the way the old partnerships worked.
And that'll help. You learn and grow as well. We all learn. I learned so much from working with other people. It's like, what are you using? And so.
Speaking of that, what are you using for client resource management?
I use HubSpot pretty much. Just a basic, is what I do. But I also have used for years FileMaker Pro.
Okay.
And that has, with mailing lists, but I can put a lot of notes in there. It's a great program. But my problem with that, and with, and I don't know why this is the case, but I'm having a hard time upgrading my version of that when I upgraded my system on my main computer. So it only works on one of my laptops. So I'm not totally
So that's
sold
what caused you to shift HubSpot?
No, I've had HubSpot for a while.
Okay.
I just have not. I've probably not maximized HubSpot like I need to, just because I've had a couple other programs, and I feel like I'm double doing everything. And so,
and you use Aweber a lot.
I
What
use
do you use that
Aweber.
for?
Oh, I use that, and I've been on a couple different email programs. It's very similar to. There's Mailchimp
that
and all of those.
systematizes your email
Totally.
outreaches, right?
Yes, and I can do. Multiple mailings, but I have a membership as well, and I can email through that. So there's a couple different avenues I can email through. My digital access pass, I can do all of that. I can do emails through people that have signed up for a particular program or a particular area. If they're in music, I know they're in music. If they're in mindsets and with my Hero Mountain, I can do it through all of that.
So one of the things Deb's done through Aweber, this is having to do with updating your technology, is she'll send an outreach email, and based on the response, she has a couple of follow-up outreach emails that are automatically sent.
Yes.
Can you imagine that? I mean, she doesn't have to keep sorting through things. And then based on the response to those, there's another automatic response.
Right.
And it doesn't come like that day. She can time it.
Right.
So that it has an appropriate amount of time in between.
Right.
Those are the kinds of things you can do with technology that you don't need a marketing department for.
Right.
So it's just effective, cost effective, and worth thinking about.
And just to keep good notes, I keep my notes in Google Docs, and I have it accessible from all of my devices, and I know what text I've done for a particular program, so I don't have to go back if I want to just do a manual, whatever. So anyway, okay, so as we keep going, this is a really important one, and we've talked about this a little bit. Focus on profitability with the low-hanging fruit. This is something I have heard so much from financial people. It's the focus.
As you're coming out of reduction or a recession, obviously you need to start picking up sales. And generally speaking, there are sales that are just waiting to happen, and then we call that low-hanging fruit. And also, because you probably cut back, the easiest thing to do is to sell the stuff that you're really good at. And go to the clients that you've already got, and see if there's something on kind of a horizontal scale that you can add to whatever their normal order is.
Yes,
that's the way to start building a little bit of momentum.
Yeah.
When we say focus on profitability, though, recognize that not all sales earn you the same amount of money.
Yes.
So don't confuse sales and/or just business activity with profit. Just because you're working 12-hour days doesn't mean you're making a profit. Now, busyness and profitability are not the same thing. And always remember, you can't buy groceries with sales.
Yes.
You can only buy groceries with profits. Yeah. So decide if what you are selling makes a profit. If not, you got to redefine what you're selling.
Right. And I've had to do that quite a bit when the market changes, especially in entertainment. It was a big deal. And what are they looking for? From and the type. I've had to customize shows for what the venue could do, and it's like why we did the trailer and the piano shells,
right.
and our Kurzweil electronics inside. They couldn't rent grand pianos for us that were, it was cost prohibitive for some of these places.
Yeah, so. Well, like in our business, you used to make a couple nickels on a stock transaction, and you could provide you get 1% of assets under management, and now stock trades are free, so there's no money there, and nobody wants to pay a management fee for assets under management. So what you have to do is redefine what you sell. So what people still need is a relationship. They still need a relationship with me, and they need access to the 30 years of reading the multiple recessions that I've lived through and managed. To help them figure out what's a true downturn versus a correction.
Right.
They need all of my experience, and the only thing that's left is I got to sell it.
Yes. Yeah.
But don't underestimate the value of relationships. Technology can do a lot.
Right.
But all in all, people like to do business with people that they're comfortable with and they like.
Yep.
And that's because we're human.
Yeah.
And, in my world, people can try to manage their finances all they want, but all it's going to take is a small correction and them losing a lot of money before they recognize it'd be nice to have a partner in this.
Yes. Yeah.
And, and the only thing left is what's the value of that partnership?
Right. And I think you hit on something so very important is trust. And it's one of the reasons that I'm even starting to do one of my podcasts a month as a video. And as you know, even though I put them on video every week on YouTube,
right,
but appearing right in front of that camera, because I think that trust relationship, I mean, there's a lot of so-called experts out there, a million of experts out there. But a trust relationship and getting to know somebody, their values and just that eye to eye a little bit,
right.
and we're able to do that a lot more with technology now. It used to be, it felt so impersonal.
And there's a lot of so-called coaches that are just full of pretense.
Yes,
and they've been stuck. And they keep pretending that they're successful. And, the people that I know you're trying to reach are people who are really trying to figure out how to be successful, but find themselves stuck. And what they need is a trusted partner.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what you're providing because, technology matters. Having the right product matters.
Right.
The marketing matters. But having a go-to person that has been through all of that and can, in a personalized way, help you figure out, what you need to do next, not what entrepreneurs in general need to do next.
Right.
That's where you provide value, and that's where, in this upcoming expansion, I think a lot of opportunity exists in building relationships.
And we came up with a word from what I really do for people is being a pacemaker or a pacer.
Yeah, just like somebody running a long distance race or a cyclist.
Exactly.
Needs somebody to pace them.
Right alongside you, run right. I could run that race.
Yeah.
I could, but I'm not going to finish that race. I'm going to let you finish your own race. But I'll, be right there. So, but you get a lot. This came. I use this illustration a little bit too in graduate school. You get a lot of those teachers who, they just couldn't really make it in the business world. So
exactly. So they teach.
And you get a lot of, so-called experts out there. Well, they really couldn't, now they're experts. So,
right.
But you really want somebody who's run the race, who's been there, who's knows what it's like when your last gig is your last gig.
And that people need to realize that you've got two other businesses you're running successfully.
Yeah.
While trying to help them run theirs.
Exactly.
Anyway.
So that's good. So let's move on. And I think we talked about this a little bit, a new sales strategy.
We talked about focusing on profitability, and we've talked about re-looking at your value statement. So if you've done that and you figured out what value do I bring to the market, and which items do I sell that are profitable and profitable for this new market.
Yes.
Then, doesn't it make sense to design a new sales strategy?
Yes.
It can't be the exact same one you were using a year ago. And so while you can't spend sales, remember this, without sales, there can't be any profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of businesses love to focus on how amazing their products are or how wonderful their service is. They get wrapped up in, designing this dream thing on PowerPoint. But if you don't sell it, it doesn't do any good.
Yeah.
And sales is the most important business skill that you can ever develop.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all know people who've made a lot of money selling stuff that is more inferior than lots of other stuff. And the difference is they figured out how to sell it.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, selling skills can be fixed much faster than a poor product can be improved.
Yeah.
Think about that. We're assuming your product is amazing, but maybe your selling skills aren't, and maybe that's where your focus, needs to be.
Yes.
Ask yourself this: if you can't sell it, is your service really wonderful?
Yeah. That's a tough question. I mean, I've had to evaluate every single one of those questions that you've said today too. In my business, this is stuff.
Well, yeah, this is stuff you and I talk about all the time.
Yeah, it is. This is the stuff when you're actually driving the car, and this is so this is really applicable, and it's something that if you got this a little checklist here. And I'll have a lot of this in the, not just in the show notes, but I write an article around this. So this will all be in there for people that they can, you can look at these points. These will all be down there. So, but yeah, I think I love to market and I love the look of everything. But the actual sales, you've got to have some sort of viable product, first of all. But also, what is your strategy and how are you reaching the right people? And I found out, even with some of my little boosted ads, my little Facebook Lives that I was doing, I was boosting those ads, and I wasn't, even though I had the same market on some of them, I wasn't reaching my ideal customer. I looked at some of my, my statistics and I said, oh my goodness, this is not. So I changed it immediately. Made that adjustment, and it was eye opening to me because I had seen my other types of ads were reaching the right people, but my Facebook Lives, for some reason, it was reaching a different
audience
element of the population. So, sales strategy. We just always have to reevaluate, and then. We get to the very last one that you... So
we've talked about a lot about coming out of the reduction or the recession. Just the one last thing is once you've licked your wounds and you start doing good again, recognize that every 8 to 10 years we have another crash. We had one in 2001. Think about this. 2009, that was 8 years. Another one in 2020. And so that was 11 years. And that one was extended by the Fed.
Yes.
We probably could have had that earlier.
Yeah.
So, somewhere around, 2028, just start thinking about this. And here's what I'd suggest you do. Anticipate the next correction and don't be caught expanding into it. And I get this lesson from the story of Joseph in the Old Testament. His value to the Pharaoh is he started saving up 7 years worth of grain so that when 7 years of famine came, they didn't have to panic. And if you can avoid expanding into a recession, what will happen is all your competitors will disappear. You'll be left standing, and it'll be easy to pick up the low-hanging fruit when you come out of the next depression.
Yes.
So expand when it's easy to make money. And, 3 years ago, if you can remember what that felt like, everybody could make money 3 years ago. So make as much money as you possibly can. Leverage yourself to the hilt when money is just flowing. But deleverage as it gets closer to depression. And the reason is it's better to miss opportunities at the end of an expansion than to be forced to fold.
Yes. Okay, that's great word of advice. I think if people, this would be so much value right now if they listen to that that last little sentence of deleveraging as it gets closer to.
Yeah, because if you can just still be alive when everybody else is gone,
you're
going to be able to grow your business.
Yes, definitely so. Well, thank you so much for all of your wisdom today. I think we'll have a lot of my audience thanking you so much. I'm going to review these just real quick, and then we will be done for the day. But number 1 was reduce, then expand, and this will all be in the article. Let go of non-producers. Reimagine the future and reconfirm your value statement. Very important. Update your technology. Don't be afraid of that. And number 5 was focus on profitability. Number 6, design a new sales strategy. And number 7, anticipate the next correction and don't be caught expanding into it. That was very valuable because we tend to get surprised and go full on and be very surprised. And you watch the market very carefully as what's happening. So again, thank you. That was such fun to be together. Yeah, especially with this subject, to have your sort of experience behind this. And hopefully everybody will join us again next week. And with the dangers of mental sabotage and what the meaning of that is. And I always say the dangers of being when your mind is hacked, but what can happen with that mental sabotage. So would love you to listen, subscribe. You can get to this podcast anytime if you just look up womenathalftime.com all together, womenathalftime.com, and you can contact me anytime, listen, subscribe, tell it to your friends, and I love reviews. So thank you so much again for being with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I love being able to do this, come every single week, and I will look forward to being with you next time. Bye-bye for now. Thank you for joining us on Women at Halftime. Visit goalsforyourlife.com or womenathalftime.com for many more resources, downloads, and programs, or to get in touch with me. I'd love it if you leave me a review and tell your friends. So until next time, this is Deborah Johnson, signing off.